Hey, what's going on everybody? Mike636 here, and as you guys can see, we're in a pretty empty parking lot right now. So what today's video is going to be about is more of a how-to for the people that, you know, want to learn how to ride a motorcycle but don't necessarily have someone to teach them how to ride a motorcycle. And I've had a few friends of mine, you know, tell me that they wish they had someone to teach them how to ride a motorcycle, let alone just the basic controls. I think one person even said they didn't even know how to start a motorcycle when they were first starting out. So all this video is going to be is to just teach you the basics of, you know, if you don't have someone to teach you how to motorcycle, you can refer to this video and hopefully I can, you know, get you more familiar with your motorcycle. First things first, if you haven't already bought a bike but you're thinking about it, do some research on what type of bike you want. You don't want to get something like a leader bike when you're starting out. I mean, unless you're like 6'4" and 200 plus pounds, then a leader bike's probably going to be a perfect fit for you because anything smaller is probably not going to have enough power for you. But if you're like 5'3" and, you know, barely a $110, you know, you may want to start out on a 400cc bike or smaller, or you can just go crazy like I did and just jump on a 636 for my first bike. Yeah, that didn't go well. I laid it out the first day I got it. So to get right into it is we're just going to go over the controls right now of the bike. So right now this is a 2021 Kawasaki ZX6R. So if you're looking at an older bike, it's probably not going to have all these bells and whistles that this bike may have, but it's going to have the basics. So obviously right here on every bike, you're going to have your ignition. You know, you're going to have your key. It's going to go in, and to turn the bike on, it's one click clockwise or to the right. You're going to turn it to the right. Okay, so we'll do that again. Key goes in, and then one click. You'll know you do it right when your whole dash lights up and you can see all the details. You can see it's in neutral, you know, check engine light. You're going to have all these different lights that are on to let you know, the bike is powered on. Now, you're not going to be able to start it if your kill switch, which is usually a red button over here, sometimes it's faded depending on how old the bike is or how much it's been abused, but usually when it's pressed upwards, that means there's no power to this bike at all. So, you know, if you turn the bike on, everything's on like this, but that kill switch is up, I can't start the bike at all. This needs to be pressed down for you to even start this bike, but we're not going to worry about starting the bike yet. So that's your kill switch. Pressing it up, no power to the bike. Pressing it down gives you power to the bike. Now this right underneath the kill switch is your ignition. So turn the bike on, kill switch, you got power to the bike, so it's down. Then you're going to press this, and now your bike's running. Okay? You know, so, and then if you want to shut the bike off, all you got to do, one click to the left. You got an off position. Some of these older bikes may have the ignition faded, so you're not going to be able to see that, but you'll know because it's just one click counterclockwise to shut the bike off. You don't have to worry about the kill switch or anything like that. You don't have to do anything like that. All right? So now this right here, this is your throttle. So when you're on your bike, your right hand controls your throttle, and then this lever right here is your front brake. So your right hand, when you're riding your motorcycle, or right now just sitting on top of it, so let's say you're a new rider, you're sitting on top of it. Obviously your kickstand's down in case you decide to tip over this bike for some reason, but you're sitting on your bike right now. All right, right hand sits on this handlebar. What you want to do is keep a loose grip, kind of. You don't want to have like a death grip on this because your hands are going to get tired. And you're going to hear a lot of motorcyclists talk about death wobbles. You know, if you got a death grip on this thing, you're almost guaranteeing yourself to lay the bike down if you're going too fast. If you hit something and it causes the bike to shift or shake, that front end starts shaking, then yeah, that's called tank slapper or death wobble. And that is, unless you know what you're doing, very hard to get out of. So, right hand controls the throttle. You just need a light grip on it. You know, just basically how you're sitting on the bike. If you're leaning on it, you literally just twist the wrist slightly and it gives you your acceleration. Your right hand is for the brake. That is your front brake. That is the brake that gives you the most stopping power out of your motorcycle. You're going to be stopping, this is I don't know the percentage, but this is like anywhere from like 8, this does like 3/4 of your braking. I'm not going to give you a percentage because someone's going to probably correct me on it. 3/4 of your braking. Now, adjustments, some brakes, some handles, as you can see, have adjustments to where you can, you know, adjust them in or adjust them farther out, depending on how, you know, how small your hands are. For me, I got it set to where if I needed to brake, I literally could just lift up my hand, just slightly lift, extend my fingers out and grab it. Same thing with my clutch. Just enough. You want to be able to have those adjusted to where you don't have to do much wrist movements to get to your front brake at all. So you got your ignition right here, 1 click clockwise for it to be on. You got your kill switch right here, big red button. That's a big indication that it's your kill switch is a giant red button. Some bikes it's really big, other bikes it's probably about as small as this. So if it's up, your bike is not going to start. If it's down, then you'll be able to start it. Right here is usually a button right below the kill switch for you to start your bike. You got your throttle right here. You got your front brake. Now on the left side, this is just a normal handlebar. This is just something for your left hand to grip onto. All right. So usually right here, you're going to have a button that controls your high beams. You're automatically always going to have a low beam on, depending on the bike. Depending on how old the bike is, it may only just have one headlight on. But then when you flick this up, you're going to have a high beam on. And then you're going to see on your dash, you know, for normal cars, it's going to be a bright blue. It's the same thing for motorcycles. It's going to be a bright blue light. If you don't have a bright blue light out, then obviously a bulb's out and you're probably going to have to fix that. But that's your switch right there to control your high beams. So if you want your high beams on, flick it up. If not, leave it down. Right here is usually a little, it looks like a little tab that you can just play with. This is your turn signal. So when your bike is on, if you want to signal, you see how I'm flashing right there? Your bike's going to indicate that you're flashing. So it's going to tell you, you know, if you want to go left, you know, push it to the left. If you want to go right, use your thumb, push it to the right, and it's going to flash. Now, it's not like a car where you make a turn and it automatically shuts off. No. So to stop your light from your turn signal from flashing, you want to depress this little button in. You depress it, it stops flashing. So now it's not flashing anymore. So now you're not signaling that you're making a right hand turn for like 7 city blocks. All right. Down below that, usually right here, is your horn. So most bikes come equipped with a horn. Whether it works or not, I mean, that's up to you. Most people probably don't even use their horn because we just rev bomb cars that pull out in front of us like assholes. All right, so that's every functionality on the left hand side. This lever right here is your clutch, and when we get into your friction zone and actually riding it, we'll get more into how that should feel in the next video when I actually go over actually riding, getting comfortable on your bike as far as it moving, power walking with the bike. Like I said, this video is just going over the basics of your motorcycle so you are familiar with every button, what each button is, what is it called, what is it used for. All right, so moving on to the side of the bike. Right here, this is your clutch. This is your clutch lever. This controls what gear you're in, whether you're in neutral, first, second, or third, fourth, fifth. Depending on the bike, you may have 5 gears or 6 gears. Most bikes are going to be 6. The thing is about these shifters is if you're buying an older bike that's been used, you need to figure out what gear, what type of shifter it is. There are things called GP shifters, which are 1 up, 5 down. What that means is when you shift into first, you click up. And then to shift into your higher gears, you just press it down. Some people have changed out their old shifters and put GP shifters on. So you need to be able to, you need to figure out what type of shifter is on your bike. My bike specifically is 1 down, puts me into first, and 5 up. That is standard on most motorcycles. So if your bike, so when you're playing with your bike, you know, you can see what gear. Some newer bikes will actually tell you the gear that you're in. Like mine right now, it's telling me I'm in neutral. If you're an old bike, it may not tell you this. It may just have an indication right here that you're in neutral, a giant green N. That just tells you you're in neutral. All right. So if, you know, if the person that you're buying the bike from doesn't know, you know, squeeze in the clutch and, you know, just play around. Well, that's probably not going to tell me anything. Okay, see? That popped into first. So now it's telling me it's in first gear right now. So if I want to take it out of first gear, I do a half click up while still holding in the clutch. And you'll know that you're in neutral when that green light, that green N appears. If you're not, you're probably going to have to, I'm putting a hole in the ground. You're probably going to have to play around with it and find out where your neutral is. You'll be able to feel it. It takes some getting used to. Some people have trouble finding neutral. Other people find it when we're not trying to. So that is your clutch. Your left foot controls your clutch. And the biggest thing is just making sure you know what type of shifter you have, whether it's a GP or just your standard shifter, which is 1 down, 5 up. GPs are 1 up, 5 down. It's for faster shifting. A lot of people usually like doing that. Okay. Now, on to the other side, you got your rear brake lever right here. So your foot's going to be sitting up here. Your toes are going to be on this. You're always going to be resting your right foot on this. All right. So your brake, your rear brake controls this. All right. This one is not going to do a whole lot as far as stopping goes. You know, this is like if you're just trying to slow down a little bit. Sure, you can press on this a few times, slow yourself down. But again, that front brake is responsible for majority of your stopping. So what I'd like to do is what I got taught in rider safety course is what's called progressive braking. You're going to use both of these brakes at the same time, and you're just going to slowly squeeze them together, applying more and more pressure as needed. You don't want to just grab onto them because you're going to flip the bike over, and trust me, you're not going to be happy about it, especially if you just got it. It's going to probably scare you, and you're probably not going to want to ride a bike again. So progressive braking. I always prefer, and I always tell this to people that are interested in riding or are trying to learn, use both of these brakes at the same time. Use them in unison. It'll stop you a lot faster, and you'll be more comfortable stop with the bike and how it stops. All right, that's just what I go with. And then once you're comfortable with the bike and you've been riding for a while and you know how your bike handles, then yeah, you can mix it up. You can use the front brake more often, you can use the rear brake more often, whatever. But if you're starting out, get used to using both brakes at the same time. Okay, now onto your tires. Each of these tires have their own specific PSI that they need to be set to. If it doesn't have a owner's manual, if you don't have a owner's manual for the bike, you could probably look one up online, free PDF, and you know, they'll tell you from the factory for this bike what the PSI is recommended at. Or like all cars, if you look over here, right here, so these specific tires should be loaded at 42 PSI when they're cold, not warmed up. And if you go, where is it? Haha, yeah, if you go over here, 42 PSI. So both of these tires, even though they're factory on the bike, they say they're supposed to be 42 PSI in each of them when they're cold. But according to Kawasaki's owner's manual, I need 36 up front and 42 and 40 in the rear. So really it's, you know, manufacturer versus the tire. You know, I usually just follow the manufacturers. I haven't had any issues with it, but you know, knock on wood, that may change. But you always want to check your tire pressure, because if your rear tire is low, you're going to feel it. Your bike's not going to want to turn. Your bike's not going to want to lean. You're going to feel like you're putting more effort into trying to just turn your bike. So for me, I went to Home Depot, spent like $3 on a digital tire pressure monitoring, tire pressure gauge. And it's the fastest way for you to check your tire pressure without, you know, having to fumble around. It's very compact. It's only maybe 3 inches in length. So really, it's really just a cheap purchase, but it really helps when making sure that you have adequate tire pressure. Anytime you pull out that bike, check your tires. If you're planning on riding the bike, check your tire pressures. Another thing is, every bike is going to have a little window right there. I don't know if y'all can see that. That is your oil level. That's to check your oil level in the bike. Right now, it's telling me my bike has no oil in it right now, or little to nothing. But I am also on an incline facing downhill, so obviously it's going to read wrong. Now, some people are going to say to check your oil level, you need to do it cold. Rider safety course taught me that you're supposed to check it when it's cold before you pull it out. And if it's not where it needs to be, or it's too low, then you need to open this up, which is, this is your oil filler cap. This allows you to put oil into your engine. Other people are going to say your bike needs to be warmed up. It needs to be at operating temperature before you even think about putting oil in, because it can give you a false reading, and if you put too much oil in there, then that can cause problems. Okay, so that's your oil window to check your oil level. Oil filler cap. Here is, there's always going to be a reservoir for your rear brake. This is a reservoir for your rear brake fluid. It's always going to be somewhere back here, somewhere on the rear end of the bike. Obviously, with my 05, I had it way here. On this bike, it's right here now. And same thing, your front brake fluid reservoir is right here. So you'll see an upper and a lower. There's usually 2 lines. So if you need to top it off, you know, go to your local bike shop and get brake fluid. If you don't know what type of brake fluid goes into the bike, most people try to go factory and just buy a factory, whatever went into the bike beforehand, unless they did a brake flush. But I don't see why people would change out a brake fluid. It should all just pretty much be factory stuff. So if it's low, add brake fluid into there. All you got to do is untwist the tops, top it off to where probably you're about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way up, and then you're going to secure it back down. Same thing with that. So the big important thing is your coolant. So with my bike and all this wonderful Japanese glory, my coolant reservoir is way right here. I got a little window down here that I can kind of see where my level is at. Now, most of your bikes are going to have a reservoir somewhere on it. Every bike is different. So you're going to have to look. You're going to have to do some digging and try to find it. You may even have to pull some plastics off in order for you to find your reservoir. It is what it is. You got to do the exploring. Now, if you don't know what type of coolant that person put in, or they can't tell you, or, you know, it's due for a coolant flush, you know, for me, personally, I don't do a whole lot of work on this bike because, one, it's brand new for me, and I don't have a whole lot of experience exploring this bike yet to where I know how to do certain things on it. I did a lot of that stuff with my 05, and it's easier, but this one's a little bit different. So I personally, since this is so brand new for me, I just take it into the shop. I just take it into the dealership in town that deals with Kawasaki's, and I let them do it. One, I know it's getting done right. Two, if anything gets fucked up from this or from them working on it, it's under a warranty and they fix it anyway, and it's no cost to me. I also have an extended warranty on this bike, so why not? You know, I might as well use it. So if you can afford the money, or you know somebody that knows how to work on motorcycles, you know, ask them. But if you don't have anybody, then I just recommend doing the safe route, spending the little extra money. Yeah, people are going to say, oh, don't go to a dealership, they'll scam you. You know what? I'd rather pay $150 for an oil change on my bike, knowing full well that there's a professional technician that's not only doing my oil change, but also inspecting the bike, and maybe there's something else that needs to be done. You know, there's a lot of things you can do as a rider. You know, you can check your brakes, you can check the thickness of your brakes. You know, if you need new brake pads, go in and check them out. You know, it's just like a car. If you feel like they're taking a lot more pressure to stop or pulsating, it's probably time to get new brakes. So that is all the basics for the most part. Like the main important stuff you need to be checking, the main stuff that you should know when it comes to a motorcycle. Now, the other thing is your battery location. So every single motorcycle, you sit on your battery. So some bikes have, as you can see right here, is a little compartment or a little key slot. So what you're going to do, hope you guys can see that, is put your key in there, twist it. It's only going to twist one way. Now with this bike, it's different than what my 05 was. So when I used to put my key in on my 05, it opened up the back seat. This one, it's different. It opens up my front seat. So your battery is right here. So if you ever, for any reason, need to get to your battery, it is under your seat. How you get to it is a matter of exploring for yourself. With my older bike, I actually had screws on either side, and I had to remove some plastics in order just to pop the seat off, just so I can access my battery. This one, I open this up, I turn the key here, opens this up, and like I said, bikes have a compartment back here. So usually older bikes, when you twist that key, it pops your rear seat off. So your battery is underneath your seat, okay? Now, another thing you should probably check is seeing if your lights even work on this on the bike you're buying. You know, you got to look at it. Do your brake lights work? You know, You can look, stand back, without even turning the bike on, most of the lights will kick on anyway. So right now, you'll see that my brake light works. It's lit, illuminated. If you want to test to see if it, you know, when you depress your brake, if it lights up, you know, probably have somebody look at it for you. And then up front, you want to check your lights. All right, so I got lights that illuminate anyway, but on my 05, only the left side, I think, yeah, my right would be on the left side of the bike. Wow, that would illuminate, because that would be my driving light. That would be the light that's always on, and then my other light would be the high beam. So ideally what you want to do is turn the bike on, and you want to check your lights. So this one being a new bike, obviously both of my lights turn on. I can tell that all my lights work on the front. If I want to check the high beams, again, that button's there. Okay, my high beams are on. So now I know that my lights work. Now if I want to make sure my turn signals work, you go up to your turn signal, check it. It's a hyper flash, but that's only because I did a fender eliminator, so I know what that cause is for. Again, you're going to go to the other one, go and check that. I can see that it's blinking down here. All right, cool. So not only did I go over all the basics of what's on a motorcycle, stuff you need to know about, stuff, what each one does, I also kind of went into a little detail of, you know, the basic daily checks that you should be doing on a motorcycle if you have already purchased one, but you're still trying to find somebody to teach you how to ride. Okay, so there's a lot that goes with a bike. There's a lot more work that goes with a bike, because, you know, just like a car, you can get in there and a car will tell you, hey, your light's out. This motorcycle is not going to tell me, especially even an older one, it's not going to tell you when your light's out. It's not going to tell you when you have a low tire. And the last thing you want to do is be riding this bike or riding your motorcycle and your back tire is super flat and all of a sudden it blows out. And you lay the bike down because you weren't expecting it, because you didn't check the tire pressure, you know? You also want to check your tires. Make sure you didn't ride over a nail or a screw, or don't have any punctures in this tire, or even your front one too. When I bought this bike, I barely had 600 miles on the bike before I put a nail through the back end, just riding around town. I didn't know about it. I just thought I had a low tire, but once I did an inspection of my tire, I noticed that I had a nail straight through the center of the tire. Ended up buying a new tire because, one, it's recommended, and two, I don't really feel comfortable putting a plug on a motorcycle tire. Just, I don't know, call me superstitious or whatever, but that's just my personal thing. All right, everybody, so hopefully I covered everything on this motorcycle as far as the switches, what levers do what are the names of the levers, and just overall inspections of this bike. So if you're out perusing and looking for a motorcycle, or you already have one but you don't have somebody to teach you, hopefully this video right now at least gets you started on the basics of your motorcycle and gets you familiar with all the switches that you can play with and get adjusted to where it's comfortable for you. All right, before I forget, another thing you want to check is your chain. My chain's dirty as shit right now because I need to clean it, but you should be cleaning and lubricating your chain about once every 600 miles. All right, you know, your local bike shop's going to have some chain and lubricant cleaner, chain cleaner and lubricant to clean the chain. You know, you can get a chain brush too, which is really helpful to scrub these chains really well. And wipe it down with a rag, make sure it's nice and clean and dry before you reapply some lubricant. All right, that's another thing on your daily checks that you need to worry about as a motorcycle rider. So, all right, everybody, Mike636. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to grow this channel, trying to get a lot more content out for you guys. This is going to be the first of many videos of how to ride a motorcycle for people that don't necessarily have a teacher but want somebody to teach them how to ride a motorcycle because you're curious. You know, I know how that's like to not have somebody teach me how to ride a motorcycle, but wanting a motorcycle. I had to learn a lot of this stuff on my own, and then as I ended up riding more often, I had more friends that rode motorcycles teaching me, hey, this does what, this does this. You know, they gave me a lot more information, and now my 4 years of riding, I'm here to teach you guys how to ride motorcycles and hopefully inspire you to pick one up, buy one. And what can I say? You know, I hopped on my bike in 2019 and I do not regret that decision at all. All right, everybody. Till next time, next episode, ride safe if you're already out on a bike. If not, just be safe out there, everybody. All right?